Story recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a horror and thriller film called Countdown. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. During a party, Courtney and her friends search for a diet app called Countdown to Skinny. But instead, they discover a mysterious app called Countdown that advertises how it knows the exact time of a person's death, down to the very last second. They all download the app, daring the person who's supposed to die first drink all the remaining booze on the table. Although Courtney is apprehensive at first, she soon gives in and finds out that she only has 3 hours left to live. Everyone else just laughs it off, thinking it's a joke, and makes Courtney drink. Courtney's boyfriend, Evan, comes by and helps her with the drinks, thinking that the app is ridiculous. On their way home, Evan insists on driving despite being drunk, and with Courtney being paranoid about the app, she chooses to walk home instead. But Evan still decides to drive, thinking Courtney is being irrational. When Evan drives away and leaves Courtney on the sidewalk, she gets a notification from Countdown saying user agreement broken. She also sees that she only has a few minutes left, so she immediately rushes home. Courtney gets a glass of water but gets spooked by very little noise, feeling scared as she checks around her bathroom. Then suddenly, a mysterious entity pulls her from above with just a few seconds left on her countdown, and she drops down and hits her head on the bathtub. Meanwhile, Evan crashes his car and sees that a tree branch went through the passenger seat, where Courtney was supposed to be. After getting admitted to the hospital, Evan is due for surgery in 19 hours. So Quinn, a nurse intern, finds him in the restricted part of the hospital. She assures him that it's normal to be nervous before surgery, but Evan says it's not that. He then shows her the Countdown app, displaying that he'll die during the surgery. Understandably so, Quinn also doesn't believe the app, but Evan insisted it's real, telling her the story of what happened to Courtney. When Quinn manages to calm Evan down, they exit the closed wing, where she is greeted by one of her co-workers, Nurse Amy. She leads Quinn to the main lobby, where she's surprised by her other co-workers with a cake to celebrate her passing the residency exam, making her officially a nurse. While they eat the cake, the topic of Countdown comes up when one of the nurses says that Evan also showed her the app. The curiosity spread throughout the staff, and when they download it, most of them find out that they'll reach their golden years. On her way home, Quinn finally downloads the app, seeing that she only has less than 3 days to live. Quinn returns to her old home to find her birth certificate for her hospital paperwork and hears rustling from the closet, so she opens it, only to see her younger sister, Jordan, sneaking around with some guy. The guy then leaves, and Quinn tries to lecture Jordan but ends up arguing with her about how she never visits them. Moments later, their father wakes up and he invites Quinn to visit her mother's grave on Saturday. However, because of the countdown timer, Quinn is a bit worried. Nonetheless, she says yes before she goes back to her apartment. The next day, there are 3 minutes left before Evan's surgery and his death, so he tries to walk away from it, getting the same notification that he broke the user agreement. He then sees a dark figure in the convex mirror following him, but when he checks behind him, he doesn't see anything. Evan hides in the stairwell, and after almost falling off the stairs because of the sudden pounding on the door, he sees that he only has more than a minute left to live. When the lights go out, Evan tries to go back to the hallway, but the door is locked, and he sees a no re-entry sign. Seconds later, he sees an evil version of Courtney, who immediately attacks him right on time with the countdown. Evan gets thrown off the staircase and dies. The news reaches Quinn, and finally, she starts to get an odd feeling about the app. She goes through Evan's old belongings and takes his phone, even going down to the morgue to unlock the facial recognition lock, only to see that the countdown has gone down to 0. Thinking that there's some truth to the app, Quinn starts feeling restless and cancels their plan to visit her mother's grave. Unfortunately, this makes her get a notification about the user agreement being broken. Because she's on edge, Quinn gets surprised by Dr. Sullivan, taps her on the shoulder, asking her to fix a patient's IV drip. However, she keeps messing up. Dr. Sullivan then comforts her, but he tries to make a move on her. She tries to brush him off, but he's persistent and starts touching her, so Quinn pushes him away, making him angry. Quinn calls Amy immediately, but Dr. Sullivan sees what she's trying to do and orders Amy to do something so she'd leave. Unfortunately, although Quinn insists it's important, Amy ignores her. That night, Quinn researches more about Countdown and sees the news article about Courtney. She finds a video of a girl talking about the app, saying that she started seeing things that aren't real. Soon enough, the video shows that the girl's time is up, and it ends with her death. However, the people in the comment section think it's fake. When Quinn closes the laptop, she sees a demonic-looking Evan in front of her, but it's simply a hallucination. She then throws her phone on the floor and breaks it before hiding inside her car. The next day, Jordan wakes up a sleeping Quinn, thinking she got evicted from her apartment. Jordan picks up Quinn's cracked phone, seeing the countdown notification. Out of curiosity, Jordan checks out the app, but Quinn prevents her from downloading it. Instead, she sends her sister away to her babysitter, saying that it isn't a good time for her to stay in her apartment at the moment, but that only makes Jordan more resentful of her older sister. Trying to escape her fate, Quinn buys a new phone, but panics when she sees the countdown has been downloaded itself on her device. The store manager, Derek, tells her just to delete it, but she has a little meltdown, knowing that it can't be deleted. As she starts to drive away, she accidentally hits a guy from behind and sees a mysterious figure in her rearview camera. When she looks back again, the figure is gone, but suddenly, demonic hands grab her face from behind, making her slam on the accelerator and hit the other guy's car. He starts to confront Quinn, but she's saved by Matt, who's in the same situation as her. They go to a pub where they hear a man ranting about the fake conspiracies and trick him into downloading Countdown so they can read the user agreement. They then find out that altering one's fate results in breaking the agreement. After that, Matt shares that he also got a notification that he broke the user agreement when he cancelled a train trip, after learning that he died during that trip. Eventually, they realize that no matter what they do, they'll die once the time reaches 0. So they go to the hospital and talk to the hospital priest, asking him about demons that could be doing this. But the priest doesn't believe in actual demons and refers them to another priest that may have more knowledge about the topic. Before they could leave, Quinn is brought by Amy to a conference room with some members of the hospital staff alongside Dr. Sullivan. As it turns out, the doctor lied about what happened and said that Quinn was the one who harassed him. Unfortunately, despite Quinn trying to clear the misunderstanding and saying that Dr. Sullivan was the one who cornered her, they don't believe her and suspended her instead. Meanwhile, when Matt goes to the men's room, a little boy knocks on his stall. Then he hears the kid crying and sees him going through the cubicle's walls. He tries to look for the child, and when he looks behind him, the boy tackles him to the ground before eventually disappearing. Quinn and Matt leave to look for Father John, the clergyman that the hospital priest talked about, and find him smoking in the office while eating the holy bread. Immediately, Father John shows interest in their case and pulls out a book that depicts the history of what's going on. Apparently, whenever someone tries to avoid their fate, death will no longer come for them, but instead, the demon called Ojin will torment them until they die. Father John wants to see the code of the application software to check what's going on for sure, so the two go back to the electronics shop and enlist Derek's help. After being bribed with 2 credit cards, Derek gives them 15 minutes. Derek then notices the app requires 60 gigabytes, too much for an application that's basically just a clock. Nevertheless, it isn't long before he successfully hacks the app, and Quinn takes a picture of a Latin text shown in the code. Furthermore, they found out that the app is storing a database of every person that downloaded it and their death countdown. Derek even finds his own name in the database and increases his lifespan, which seems to have worked. He also searches for Quinn's name, but Quinn sees that Jordan has also downloaded the app, finding out that she'll die a few minutes before her. They get Derek to edit all of their timers, and while Jordan's is updated, her babysitter confiscates her phone when she catches her using it. Thinking that their problem is over, Matt and Quinn prepares to go their separate ways, but she invites him back to her apartment. That night, they have a conversation about what compelled them to know the moment of their death. And as it turns out, it's because they both lost someone important in their life. For Matt, it was his little brother, and for Quinn, it was her mother. Quinn wakes up in the middle of the night and feels comforted by Matt's arm around her. However, she hears creaking behind the door, seeing the shadows moving beneath the cracks. So she tries to wake up Matt, but Matt enters the room, and the arm around Quinn suddenly turns into Ojin's. She starts to panic, so Matt rushes to calm her down. Then, suddenly, they see their times return to how it was before. Quinn immediately calls her younger sister, so Jordan goes to her babysitter's room to get her phone. As Jordan goes back to bed, she sees that her countdown is also returning to how it used to be. She started to hear suspicious sounds from outside her room, so she tries to check it out but sees no one. Oddly enough, the motion sensor lights in the hallway starts turning on and off by themselves, so she hides under the bed. She then hears her mother's voice, and the bed is suddenly thrown across the room. Jordan also sees her mother's dead body appear beside her, so she runs away, encountering Quinn by the door. With no time to lose, they rush back to Father John, who translates the Latin script for them. Moments later, they find out that the app is a curse that can be broken. Father John then says that Satan is the father of lies, and if you can prove him a liar, you can break the curse. So he further explains that all they need to do is prove the clock wrong to break the curse. Quinn immediately thinks that someone needs to die before they're supposed to, and although Father John also thinks that'll work, he suggests an alternative method, keeping someone alive and beating the clock by 1 second. Father John tells them that they can use protection rituals so that the demon won't be able to get to them, and they go to the basement to set up the protection ritual out of salt. However, Jordan is worried that the demon might just blow away the salt, so they mix it with white paint. While the trio draws the circle, Father John blesses the salt. With a couple of minutes left in Matt's life, he starts to get nervous, so Quinn tries to calm him down by kissing him. Unfortunately, it isn't long before the lights suddenly turn off, so they huddle inside the protection circle while Father John recites prayers. Jordan shrieks as she sees Ojin circling around them, but the ritual is working because the demon can't step beyond the circle. With the app's notification signaling Matt's imminent death, everyone starts to cover their ears as his phone emits a deafening sound. However, Matt seems unaffected as he scrambles to turn off his phone. Unable to hear the same sound the others hear, Matt gets distracted when he sees his little brother's toy and when the child appears before him. The hallucination successfully leads Matt off the circle as he tries to go after his little brother, and the demon immediately grabs him. Quinn chases after Matt, who's then hit by a car as he goes outside, dying at the exact time his countdown reaches 0. Jordan runs after Quinn, and Quinn finds out that her younger sister has been injured during the commotion, so she rushes her to the hospital. Then while she fills out some forms, she sees the news about a train that crashed, which was supposed to be Matt's train. When Quinn goes to check on Jordan, she sees Dr. Sullivan taking care of her, so she starts to develop a sinister plan to break the curse. Quinn confronts Dr. Sullivan and pretends to be interested in him, but the doctor immediately realizes that she's up to something, or trying to catch him with a recording device. However, Quinn keeps the act as she tries to seduce him into going to the restricted hospital wing. Quinn plays sexy Marco Polo with Dr. Sullivan, and she hits him multiple times with a crowbar to get him down. She pins him down and prepares to inject him with a morphine so that he'll die before he's supposed to, which will break the curse. However, Jordan stops her before she could do anything. Then suddenly, the demon grabs the doctor away, making Quinn realize that the plan will work because Ojin is trying to prevent him from dying. Quinn chases after Dr. Sullivan, so Jordan loses sight of her. With 2 minutes left on Jordan's clock, Ojin starts to go after her. Meanwhile, Dr. Sullivan ambushes Quinn and punches her, but she's able to pick herself up and hide from the doctor as he chases her with a crowbar. She then appears behind him and starts attacking him once more, successfully getting him down. But before she could get close to him with the syringe, she gets thrown back and breaks her ankle. The doctor escapes while Quinn devises an alternate plan as she looks for Jordan. With a minute and a half left on the clock, Ojin grabs Jordan from behind and throws her in the hallway to kill her. However, Quinn reappears with the syringe in her hand, planning to sacrifice herself instead. The demon takes the form of their mother, planning to bait her into stopping. But Quinn sees through the illusion and injects the morphine into her system. As Quinn passes out, the demon tries to stop her from dying, but her heartbeat stops just before Jordan's countdown reaches 0. Quinn successfully breaks the curse while Ojin crumbles into dust, and Jordan immediately runs to her sister's body. She then sees a mark pointing towards a specific part of Quinn's body, including the medicine and syringe needed to counteract the morphine. So with shaky hands, Jordan desperately tries to save Quinn, who regains consciousness seconds later. Later on, Quinn's family visits her mother's grave, where Jordan sees a news article about Dr. Sullivan getting jailed after all the women he assaulted came forward. Then, on their way home, Quinn receives a notification about a newly updated Countdown 2.0 app that has downloaded itself on her phone. In the end credit scene, Derek treats his date to an expensive restaurant with the credit cards from Quinn and Matt. However, once he's alone, the lights suddenly turn off, and his phone notifies him that his life countdown is over before the demon comes for him.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.